form of defining this record, it says that the same record Smith, if someone with secret level class of privileges has access to this information, the user see this information, fair job performance. But if someone with classified level have access to this information, can see this excellent. It's somehow a lie here. For example, we have some information classified. For example, I give you the results, for example, of this your exam. The result of your exam is 2, for example. I wish it's not so, but it's 2. But I don't want you to know this. So I can define, if you have access to your result, you can see, for example, 20. But if the employee of university have access to this information, the real result of your exam is 2, for example. I don't want you to know this one. Or you have some kind of review for me as your teacher. You go to site of university and you give some review for your teacher, for me. But you don't want me to see the real review, your opinions about me. Your opinion is that this teacher is very bad, is very weak. But if I go to the site, I see it's very perfect, it's very good, so I don't know the real opinion of you, for example. So it's some kind when there are some top secret information and you want to give false information to some users in lower classes, you can have this form of definition. Here is the definition of this. For example, it says select. There's no sound. Is the sound okay? How's the sound? It's okay. So maybe there is some problem for Mr. Radar. Okay. We have this. So, now a user we have here a user. A user have this give this instruction select star from employee. It means the user wants to see all information in employee table. This figure is a multi-level relation to illustrate multi-level security. A is the original, the main employee records. B is appearance of employee after filtering for classification C users. Here, the users which are in C level, so we have some changes here. For example, they cannot see the salary of this record or job preference performance of this record. And the C is the appearance of employee after filtering for classification U for unclassified users. And here is the poly instantiation of the Smith record. Smith record has poly instantiation. It means multiple values for different users. If the user is secret, can see this record, and if the user is confidential, can see this record. It's here. Secret can see A, confidential can see B, and unclassified can see C, and D is poly instantiation. both for secret users and confidential users. Okay, you can explain please.
اوكي دكتور، ثانك يو. اخوان، هنا صارت السماحيات على مستوى الحقول. هسه خلينا نشوف هذا الإيعاز. اليوزر مرة يكون عنده إجازة نوعها S، ومرة يكون عنده إجازة C، ومرة يكون عنده إجازة U. هاي اللي جول بالأحمر شوفوهن كل زين. زين، هذا اليوزر حسب تنفيذه للإيعاز حسب السماحية مالته، وبالأس راح يشوف بس الجدول A. طبعا يشوف كل البيانات العفو، بس هو راح تكون نتائج عنده A. ليش؟ لأنه هو الصنف مالته السكرت، فراح يشوف السكرت فما دون. زين، لأنه عنده سماحية سكرت. اليوزر فرضا اجى يوزر ثاني عنده سماحية من نوع C، إجازة من نوع C، فهذا ما راح يشوف الأعلى من عنده، فراح يشوف يا البيانات يا الموجودة بالبي. ليش؟ لأنه بالبي نفس مستواه أو أقل من عنده، سي أو يو يشوفن، هذا بالبي. زين، اليوزر الثالث، هذا اليوزر الثالث راح يشوف بس اليو، البيانات العادية. ليش؟ لأنه مستوى السماحية مالته يشوف بس اليو. هو وضحتها الدكتوره بانه هنا بس سميث قاعد هذا يتكرر عندكم. البيانات الاصليه طبعا هي الموجوده بالحق الامبلوي، هذا الاساسي. التكرار به لانه موزعه به السماحيات. فشوف احنا نقول هسه هنا شوف البيانات والسماحيات، اما البيانات على مستوى الخليه الواحده، مو مستوى على مستوى الفلود. لا، شوف هسه النيم عندك مره انكج وهذا مفتوح بوبليك لسميث، بس البراون لا، كونفيدنشال سري. شوف السلري مالته بالنسبه للسميث كونفيدنشال اللي هو سري، خلينا نقول، بس هذا سكرت ما حد يشوفه الا اللي عنده السماحيه سكرت. فخلي ببالك الفئات، اليوزر على الفئه مالته، والبيانات هم على الفئه مالته. كل من يشوف الفئه مالته والاقل من عته. هاي القاعده الثابته. البولي انستان شيء هو تعدد التواجد. ليش؟ هو نفس الجدول، لكن طلب تعدد البيانات او الريكوردات، الحقول هنا التبلز. ليش؟ حسب السماحيات مالتهم. كل من يشوف يشوف البيانات حسب السماحيات مالته وحسب سماحية البيانات. الأمر متكون من جزئين. خلي اخوان رجاء اسالوا اذا عندكم سؤال، لان هذا الموضوع شويه به حساسيه. ثانك يو دكتور.
Thank you. Well, for comparing DAC and MAC, DAC policies have a high degree of flexibility, do not impose control on how information is propagated. And in MAC, mandatory policies ensure high degree of protection. They are rigid, they cannot change easily, and they are predefined actually, but they prevent illegal information flow. That's why I gave you the example of military, because the information in military system, in government information, they are very important information. So we want to have a very high level of security. And here the MAC, mandatory access control, is okay, we can use it. But in other applications, in simple organizations or companies, it's very hard. It cannot be changed easily. So it's not very good, and it's not recommended for small projects. But DAC is very flexible and can be used in any system with no main problem. Is there a need to explain? Okay.
ثانك يو دكتور. مقارنه بين الكومبايند ديسكشري وبين المدندري اكسس كنترول. بالنسبه للداك عنده سماحيات أو بمرونة عالية تقدر تتحكم به. يعني احنا اخذناها بالسماحيات مال الويندوز العادية أو سماحيات الاس كيو ال العادية، يعني يعطي يوزر نيم وباسورد وممكن يفوضها. لكن المانداتوري أشد وأقسى من الداك. عنده صارم بإعطاء السماحيات ويمنع أي تسرب للبيانات. ثانك يو دكتور.
Thank you. If you don't have picture, please refresh your screen. Maybe that's why you don't have the picture. And sometimes when I change the slides, the page, some delay to show you the current page. Then now we have another way to define controls. Role-based access control. It's somehow between two previous models. In DAC or DAC model, in DAC model, any person or some person, I don't, some users can give privileges to another users. It's like operating system. For example, in Windows, the admin can define users and give them some access to some person. But it's not very, there are some weak parts. I will go to this part and explain the main problems in upcoming sessions. We will discuss later. It's very flexible, it's very easy, but there are some disadvantages. Then we have MAC, mandatory. It cannot change easily, and there are some problems there. And we have now role-based access control, permissions associated with organizational roles. This is a very good model to use in organizations, companies, because, for example, in university, we have some defined roles. They are not very rigid and very, for example, constant roles like military. There are a little more flexible in, for example, university. We have instructors or teachers in university. We have students. We have for example, manager of a department, head of department, or employees in a department. And then we have employees in آموزش, in the main part in the university. Then we have the head of آموزش or head of graduation part. And then we have the head of university. Each one is one role here, a role in a organization. There are many roles in organization, and then users are assigned to appropriate role. When I sign in this system, for example, in Adobe, I am a teacher, my role is teacher, so I have some access to this system as a host. You, as a student, have some privileges in this system. Then, it can be used with traditional DAC, discretionary, and mandatory access control. It can be combined with the other models. And we have mutual exclusion of roles. It means both roles cannot be used simultaneously. For example, as teacher, I cannot be both teacher and student at the same time. Mutual exclusion, it means there is no intersection between the roles. in each time, I can have just one role. So when I log in the system, I'm, for example, a teacher or a manager, and the both cannot be for me. And we have some issues in identity management. And now we can define users, then we can define roles, and then we can have a connection between one user and one role. When I come to this university, there is a connection between me and the role of the teacher or instructor of the university. When you sign in, there is a connection between you and the role of student. Well, can explain.
يس دكتور. النوع هسه عندنا الثالث يمكن هذا الرول بيسد اكسس كنترول. هذا يعطي السماحيات حسب الوظائف. يعني خلينا نقول دائرة بها مدير أو موظف. هي ضربة مثال الجامعة قال، هو مثال كلش ممتاز بين الأستاذ والطالب. الأستاذ ما ممكن أن يلعب دورين، كل واحد إلى وظيفته، راح تكون الوظيفة حسب حسب القيد مالته. ما ممكن هنا أن بالفقرة الثانية طبعا هذه أو الثالثة mutual execution of rules، ما ممكن أن يقوم بدورين، دور الأستاذ ودور الطالب، فكل من إلى وظيفة محددة يؤديها. ممكن أن نستخدم ويا الأمنية العالية طبعا هو هذا يقول يستخدم في المنظمات مثل الجامعات أو الدوائر وهذه، بس اللي قبل اللي أخذناه يستخدم بالمنشآت العسكرية. فهذا ما يحتاج صرامة عالية لإدارة البيانات. وهنا راح يجي الموضوع الظاهر اللي هو تحديد إدارة حسب الهوية مالته، اللي هو قلنا مثلا إذا طالب يودي على الأشياء تخص الطلاب، إذا أستاذ يودي على الأشياء اللي تخص الطلاب، وما ممكن الجمع بين الاثنين. ما ممكن واحد يؤدي وظيفتين بنفس الوقت. Thank you.
Thank you. As this model is very usable and is very famous, you can use it in many systems. We will have a separate section for this later. So I just brought this small definition of the model, and we will discuss it in another section later. Label-based security and row-level access control. Sophisticated access control rules implemented by considering the data row by row. Each row given a label used to prevent unauthorized users from viewing or altering certain data. Like the poly-instantiation that we had before, here in this model, you can define some rules, you can have some definitions, and implement it by considering data row by row. You can define who can have access to which rows, to certain rows or certain records of the system. For example, I'm working in computer department, so I can have access to students who are in the computer department. Yeah, yes, it can be all the fields in a row, yes. The main consideration in this model is row level, so the all fields. But as I said before, the models which I'm discussing here can be combined with each other. So you can have the field, for example, limitations 2 here. But the main model is just considering row level. So as you say, it's all fields in a row. So if I want to change some information for a student. As I'm working in computer department, I cannot have access to change the information for some other student who is in department, for example, civil engineering or management engineering, for management bachelor, for example, and provides finer granularity for data security. This granularity, it means how specific you can define something. It's granular means a very small part. And in this model, we have finer granularity. It means you can be more specific about defining the rules, the security rules. Who can have access to which row specifically, so it's very finer than other models. And label security policy is defined by an administrator. A label, it means we label each row, for example, label each row, and we'll define which labels can be accessed by which users. On top of DAC, the use must satisfy DAC and then the label security requirements. It means it is mainly considered and used by DAC model. And it's on top of DAC. It means that when some user wants to have access to some information, it must satisfy DAC first. For example, I want to change information in student relation, student table. First of all, it must be checked if I have access to student table at all. And then I want to change information about some special student X. So the label will be checked if I have access to that student, that special student. So if I don't have access to student relation, student table, then it doesn't mean to have access to special row. It's a level by level. From DAC, it says I have access to student relation or table. Then this rules row by row. Now I have access to a student relation, but I have access to special rows. For example, just the students in my class. Okay, Mr. Qasim. Do you want to explain, Mr. Qasim?
Yes, thank you. بالنسبة هنا التوأمة بين الليبل بيس سكيورتي والرولبل اكسس كنترول. يقول هو من خلال الوصول من خلال نصل لكل ريكورد سطر بعد سطر، يوفر وصول عالي لسطر بعد سطر او رو بعد رو. شلون تفهمها انت بقواعد البيانات الاخوان؟ ريكورد افتر ريكورد. هاي بالنسبه للفقره الاولى. كل رو راح ينطي ليبل. طبعا هاي قالت يشبه اللي صنفناه اللي قبله الارباك. هنا حتى يمنع الاشخاص غير المرخصين من معاينه البيانات او تحديث البيانات. 3 يوفر دقة وضمان عالي لأمنية البيانات. 4 هناك label security policy. منو اللي ينطيها الادمنستر، المدير، ينطي هاي الليبلات للرو اللي تكون بجداول البيانات. يقول هنا بالفقرة الأخيرة يستخدمون الداك احنا نتذكر حتى تدخل لازم عندك authentication، عندك اما يوزر نيم باسورد يحددها الويندو، او عندك يوزر نيم باسورد يحددها الاس كيو. فبالدمج مع الليبل سكيورتي راح تقدر توصل للبيانات حتى تضمن دقة تنفيذ عالية وضمان عالي للبيانات. Thank you.
Thank you. Next topic is statistical databases. I will leave it for next session as it's somehow more complicated. I was supposed to give this in previous session. You remember the inferences and statistical databases, but it takes time to reach to this part. Statistical databases are mainly databases which you don't have access to records, the main records, but you have access to statistics about data. For example, I cannot see the student table, but I can see the average results of your exam. I can see the sum of the salaries of employers, but I cannot see the salary of one employer. But I can see the sum of the salaries, or the minimum or maximum. These are statistical databases. I will discuss in next session. So if there is any question, please ask. You're welcome. Thank you to Mr. Qasim for helping in class. Well, thank you. So, there's no question. We'll continue this part in next session. I put the next section, next file in Darsa 2. You can check now and download if you want. Thank you too, and goodbye until next session. Bye. خدا نگهدار. خدا حافظ.